Verse 89. Sri Vishnu Sahasranaama Stotra. Sahasrartyihi saptajuhaha saptaidhaha saptavahanaha amurtiranagosintyaha vayakrit vayanashanaha Sahasrartyihi saptajuhaha saptaidhaha saptavahanaha amurtihi anagaha achintyaha bhayakrit bhayanashanaha Sahasrartyihi, one with innumerable rays like the sun god. Saptajuhaha, Saptaidhaha, Saptavahanaha. These three names respectively mean one having 7 tongues, 7 flames, 7 horses. Once we study in detail, we'll understand the implications of these three. Amurtihi, formless, one without any name and form. Anagaha, sinless. Achintyaha, unthinkable, beyond our comprehension. Bhayakrit, causing fear in the unrighteous. Bhayanashanaha, destroying fear in the righteous. Sahasrartyihi means one having innumerable rays. The Supreme Being, in his effulgence, is said to have thousands thousands of rays. The Self, the pure consciousness, which illumines all experiences, is considered in our scriptures to be the light of all the lights. Jyotisham api tajyotihi. In Bhagavad Gita, there is a wonderful description of the effulgence of this reality. In the words of Sanjaya, who was fortunate enough to see the Vishwarupa through the divine eye given by sage Vedavyasa, he says he was describing the Supreme Being's appearance to Dhritarashtra. He says, Divi Surya Sahasrasya Bhavet Yugapaduttita Yadibha Sadrishi Sasyat Bhasastasya Mahatmanaha. He was telling that if the splendor of 1,000 suns, which suppose they rise together in the sky at one and the same time, the splendor, the combined splendor, which will be appearing, perhaps, not sure of this, even then, perhaps it may be something like the splendor of the mighty being which I am able to see here. That's what Sanjaya said. So this is the effulgence of the Supreme Being. The Supreme Being had described as rays like the sun god is one having 7 tongues also. Sapta Jivhaha, 7 tongues. Actually, this reference is to god of fire, Agni Deva, who is supposed to have 7 tongues. Jivha means tongue. So here it is used in the sense of tongues of flame. When the flame bursts out, they appear like tongues. The 7 tongues of God are said to be, there are 7 names for this: Kali, Karali, Manojava, Sulohita, Sudhumravarana, Pulingini, and Vishwaruchi. These 7 flames of different properties are enumerated in great detail in Mundakopanishad. Now, basic idea is the light of consciousness, it beams out through. It is a metaphor of 7 tongues, 7 flames is the light of consciousness which is residing in our body is emanating. It is manifesting through 7 points in the face: 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, and the mouth. All intelligent beings, the powers of perception, metaphorically, flame out through each one of them. It illumines the world for us because these are these what we call the senses of perception, because of which we are able to see, we are able to feel, we are able to hear about the universe. Otherwise, universe will not be actually existing for us. So we are able to perceive the universe only because of the inner consciousness, which works through these two eyes, two ears, two nostrils, and of course the mouth. Supreme residing in our heart, manifesting as the seven distincts of flames of fire, is poetically described as Sapta Jivuha. The Supreme having seven tongues, flames, is having said to have seven effulgences. Saptaidhaha, Sapta Edhaha, Saptaidhaha, seven flames. Now, the earlier term invoked the Supreme as having seven tongues of flame. Here, the emphasis seems to be on the effulgence coming out of these seven tongues of flame. Agni Deva is worshipped as Saptate Agne Samidaha Saptajivhaha. O Agni, you have seven effulgences and seven tongues. The Supreme worshipped as Sahasrarchihi Saptajivhaha Saptaidhaha is said to have seven horses also. He is called Saptavahanaha. Saptavahanaha, seven horses. That is one who is having a vehicle of seven horses. This again refers to Sun God. Sun God is one of the manifestations of the Supreme Being. Lord Sun is described in the Vedas as riding in a chariot of seven horses. These seven horses denote 7 days of the week. Also, these seven horses represent the seven chandas of the Sanskrit slokas, that is 7 meters, which are Gayatri, Bruhati, Pankti, Trishub, Ushnik, Jagati, and Anushtup. Most of the verses in Vishnu Sahasranaama or Bhagavad Gita or even Valmiki Ramayana, they are in a Anushtup Chandas. Since the Supreme is said to have seven horses, we may mistake him that he has a particular form, he has a specific form. No. The next name clarifies he has a particular form. He is basically formless. Amurtihi. Amurtihi means formless. One who is formless. Form implies a thing that is limited by some other factors. The all pervading cannot have a form, since he is not limited by anything. He is not limited either by space or by time. Limited by space, what is limited by space has a gross form, and what is limited by time has a specific birth and a specific death. Supreme Being is Anadihi. Neither he has Adi, nor Anta, nor Madhya. He doesn't have beginning, the middle, or the end. He is infinite. He is eternal. He is formless. He will take different forms. He will manifest in different forms depending on the requirements. Or we can visualize him in any particular form suitable to us for our convenience and give whatever name we like. But basically, the Supreme is without any particular form or any particular name. The Supreme, which is formless, is sinless. Anagaha. Anagaha means sinless. Aha means sin or sorrow. Opposite of that, with negation, it becomes anagaha, means one who is sinless or without any sorrow, sorrowless. The Lord, the Supreme Self, is immaculate. It is untouched and uncontaminated, unpolluted by the vasanas, which are specific to the mortal beings. The Supreme, without any karma, the Supreme does not perform any karma. Karma means here sakama karma, a desire, desire with a fruit for action. That is called a sakama karma. Of course, if you do a nishkama karma without looking for any fruit of action, there is no problem. But we normally what we do is sakama karma. For every action we do, normally we have a desire. We have a sankalpa. We do it for a specific purpose, expecting something back. So it is sakama karma. And sakama karma happens because of vasanas. And sakama karma will lead to strengthening and generating of new vasanas. It is a chain. So accumulated vasanas, accumulated fruits of action, accumulated karma is called prarabdha. And prarabdha is the one which leads to rebirth. The supreme being is any karma. He is actually actionless. He is akarmaha. So he has no prarabdha. Since he has no prarabdha, there is no question of any birth for him. Birth in a normal sense, it is not there. But his avatara is not a birth, it is a manifestation. He manifests of his own free will and for the welfare of the universe. Since he has no prarabdha, he is free from sins and sorrows. He is represent eternal bliss beyond all traces of sorrow. He is called Anagaha. Such a supreme being, free from any desire-ridden causes, desire-ridden causation is something, someone is normally beyond our comprehension. So he is unthinkable, achintyaha, achintyaha, unthinkable, beyond our comprehension of the finite mind and intellect, limited mind, limited intellect is beyond our comprehension. The Lord is formless and consequently imperceptible. That means he is not available as an object either for our gross senses or for our emotional experience or even for our intellectual appreciation because he is pure consciousness whose light in whose life because of that consciousness only all our perceptions, all our feelings and all our thoughts are illumined. So these are incapable of grasping, understanding, touching, feeling, or comprehending the Supreme Being. Only when we transcend the perceptions, feelings, and thoughts, only then we become one with the Supreme. In Gita, this nourisher of all is compared with a changeless white screen. The white screen which is there in a movie theater which we see is stationary. It is changeless, but on which all the moving, perishing scenes of life are focused. Go to a movie, we can see fire, we can see water, we can see a cyclone, we can see beings who are happy, we can see actors who are unhappy, we can see fights, everything we can see, all the changing scenes be on the screen. But after the movie is over, when the projector is off, you go and see the screen. It is absolutely still, changeless, white, two-dimensional surface. So, similarly, supreme consciousness is the changeless substratum on which the changing universe which we are perceiving. Such an unthinkable entity is a cause of fear, bhayakrit, but for whom? Only for the unrighteous. Bhayakrit, causing fear. The Lord is the creator of fear. Bhayam kritanti iti bhayakrit. He is a terror to the evil-minded. In all his incarnations, he generates fear in the evil-minded to ultimately sway them in the path of dharma. If they don't listen, he will have to finish them. But the same person, same personality which is creating fear in the unrighteous is no cause for fear among the righteous devotees, seekers. The best example we can think of is the Narsimhavatara, the man lion manifestation of Mahavishnu. It became a terror to Hiranyakashipa, the evil minded father. But the same form became the object of devotion, object of pleasure for Kallada, the son of the very same Hiranyakashipa. Similar experience where we can get when we're looking at the idol of Mahakali. Mahakali is, will create terror in the minds of the unrighteous, evil-minded fellows. But what about the devotees who go and sit there in her presence, who seek solace at her lotus feet? For them, she does not cause any fear. Actually, she becomes destroyer of fear in them. So she is Bhayanashanaha. Bhayanashanaha is the destroyer of fear. The Supreme Lord is the destroyer of all fear in all the beings. The Upanishad repeatedly declare that the state of self-knowledge, it is a state of absolute fearlessness. And what is fear? Fear comes forth because of a sense of otherness, sense of plurality. The other object which is causing me fear, as long as I think it is something different from me, there's a cause for fear. But if I understand that myself and the other object, both of us are only same manifestations of the same common supreme, then where is the fear? Fear vanishes once this ignorance goes. It is only because of ignorance, only because of duality, because of the feeling of otherness, this fear arises. Mahavishnu, the one without any duality, is the final refuge. He will rescue us from all our fears. So he is called Dayanashanaha. The abode of such destroyer of fear is extremely subtle. It is not a gross form. It is not an object. It is subtler than the most subtle. So he is called Anuhu. Anuhu is the first name in the next verse, which we'll take up in the next episode. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrutyorma Amrutangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.